Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's the Full 40 with Chris and Rob, part of the Stay Tuned Network, brought to you by Nova Insider. Back after an interesting week of Villanova hoops, but we have a very special guest with us today. Joining the podcast once again is Villanova legend Allan Ray. Allan, thanks for jumping on with us. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm doing good. What's up, Nova Nation?
Allan, so before we jump into the week that was, I do want to talk about jersey retirements. So we just saw Josh get his jersey retired on Wednesday night, which was clearly the highlight of Wednesday night. But beyond that, you've also have been fortunate enough to have that honor. Just talk about that. Can you talk about that a little bit and like kind of what that call was like to get that, and then kind of go through it?
Yeah. Actually, it's a great honor to have your jersey retired. It's like somebody actually really recognizes the work that you put in and the things that you did. But yeah, I remember we wanted to do it for a long time, but obviously I was playing overseas, so I never was really home during the season where I could come to a game and get my jersey retired. So it kind of just held off until after I stopped playing. But I was definitely honored by it. It's just a great feeling to know that your name is up in the rafters. And, you know, I put in a lot of work from when I was little. Just for moments like that, you know, it's a great honor, and I'm really appreciative of it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it was cool what they seem to do for everybody who gets their jersey retired now. It seems like it's a whole event. I saw that Josh jumped on Jay's podcast. I saw that there was just a lot that, you know, kind of, there's a lot of fanfare that happens behind the scenes in addition to what you see kind of play out in the center of the court in the speech. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great event, you know, like you said, doing the podcast, and just, it was good to be back. You know, it just felt like I was a player again, you know, doing all the activities and stuff. It was great. Got to see everybody as well.
Right. You know, the players nowadays in the new pavilion, they don't have to run down the center of the bleachers. I was always worried that someone's going to trip and hurt themselves going down the student section before the game.
So you know what? I meant to ask that question. I've been meaning to ask if they still do that.
No, they don't, because the student section it's only half of that one side now. It used to be like the full wall of students, kind of that whole bleacher section, but they moved like half of the students to the other side of the arena. So now the players can't go down because there's no like aisle that runs all the way down that side of the arena. So they don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I remember that. You got to run down, you got to look down, you got to have your hand out to give fives, you got to try not to fall. Yeah, it was pretty intense.
All right. Well, speaking of trying not to fall, we did attempt to not fall this week, but we did get it done today versus Georgetown. We're recording this on January 22nd, just at 3:25. So it's just a couple hours after the Georgetown game ended. But the game we want to talk about more is the game versus Marquette on Wednesday night, which did not go Villanova's way. So I think we talk about that game first. And Rob, do you want to just kind of lay out the scene a little bit for this game, kind of what your thoughts are, and then we can kind of talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this one for me is, I don't know, it's symptomatic of a lot of things that we had been talking about on the podcast for a little bit of a while. It's funny, I think we did a debate, I want to say it was the podcast before, on is Villanova a good 3-point shooting team this year or not? And we got an initial reaction from this game. We shot 6 for 24, 25%, which I think falls pretty strictly in the not camp, at least for that game. So that one didn't get it done. Look, I mean, this game to me, you look at the box score, you only got 3 guys in double digits. You've got Eric Dixon, obviously is having an awesome run of form right now. He had 15 points, and then you had Justin continuing some strong play at 13 and Colin with 10 there, but that was it. So at the end of the day, when you're relying on those three guys and ultimately the offense was kind of stagnating, especially towards the end of the game, ultimately, like, that was it really. And frankly, I didn't see us hitting this much of a speed bump against Marquette. I thought we would be able to pull off a win there. And especially when we talked about pace of Marquette as well, too, figured they'd speed things up a little bit, but ultimately that didn't happen. So to me, look, it definitely raised a lot of red flags. I think it brought back some other issues that we had talked about as well as it relates to the short bench. Coach going back to the short bench and tightening things up. BA getting a sum total of 4 minutes, and Jordan made a flash appearance in the first half, and that was it. So again, the narrative kind of switched as we got back into the Georgetown game, but that to me was the two things that stood out to me. 3-pointers not falling, offense stagnating, in that short bench. So I'm just kind of like, as a fan, I was a little tense watching it.
So Allan, it's interesting because I want to break down kind of what went wrong in this game. And you came out on Twitter both after the game and the following morning, and we're really harping on the defense, saying basically sometimes shots don't go down, so let's not worry about that. The problem is our 3-point shooting defense. Want to talk? Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's how I felt for that game. You know, Jim Jackson made a good point today. Well, I don't know if y'all heard it second half, how he was saying, like, if you don't score points, you're not shooting well from the field. Like, how do you manufacture offense? Like, you have to find a way to, like, manufacture offense. And he was talking about doing that from your defense. And if you see today in the game, in the first half, Georgetown was doing that. We was turning the ball over in the first half a lot, and Georgetown was scoring points off of our turnovers. And that was keeping them in the game. Georgetown also went to the free throw line a lot in the first half. I think they shot like 8 or 9 free throws, and that allowed them to stay in the game as well. So with the Marquette game, like, let's go back a game before against Xavier. It was kind of the similar situation. You know, wasn't scoring a lot. We shot terrible from 3-point range. We shot terrible from the field. But we managed to lock down and get stops when we needed them, and we walked away with that win. And if you remember, Justin at the end of the game got to the free throw line, made some key free throws because we wasn't scoring from the field. And that's how we put our points on the board. We got it through playing hard defense, not letting them score, and getting to the free throw line. The Marquette game, I don't think we didn't get to the free throw line nearly enough. We didn't get to the free throw line at all. And I just felt like there was just too many easy baskets against Marquette. I mean, they had a backdoor cut for a dunk, a couple of transition threes from Elliott that got them going. And then I'm fine with Lewis. That's his name, right? I'm fine with Lewis hitting threes. He only shot 29% on the year from 3. So you can't do anything about that. But I just feel like the score really doesn't indicate how our defense was. You know, Marquette scored 70 points a game, but they only scored 50 that game. But we just gave up too many easy shots at the wrong time in order to win that game. That's just how I feel.
They did shoot 40, to your point, they did shoot 45% from 3. Yeah. So like they were getting open looks. They were absolutely hitting them. So yeah, even if it didn't tally up, they were very efficient from the field.
Exactly. And from the field, they didn't shoot that great from 2. It was from 3. 3, they was like 40-something% from 3. At some point, you got to be like, okay, let's run them off the 3-point line, you know. And I feel like they didn't do that. And you see the Georgetown game today, like in the beginning, we were giving up way too many easy looks for them, and they was knocking it down. And once teams get confidence like that, it's hard to stop them. Like, you playing against Villanova, every team comes in like they want to beat you, they want to get a name off you, you know.
Yeah,
I think the crucial stretch in the Marquette game was after a slow start. We did expect them to come out and punch us right in the mouth. And they actually did try and speed the game up in the early go. And then they actually got comfortable playing our tempo. So it was, Rob, to your point about tempo, like it wasn't a tempo game at all. Like we played our tempo. We were able to slow the game down. But they came out quick. And I thought that we rushed shots early in the game. But then after we settled down, the last 5 minutes of the first half and the first 10 minutes of the second half, that was us. Like that was Villanova basketball, like right to the tee. And we did all the things that Alan was saying. We finally started to close out on their shooters. So we didn't let them get comfortable in early going of that second half. And then we created some offense off of defense. Got downhill, we got into the lane, got piece of the paint. I felt like we needed to continue to get into that paint and stop throwing it around the perimeter, looking for an open look. But then the key point came, we were up 9 and there was 10 and a half left. Shaka calls a timeout, come out of the timeout, they hit a 3, bang, 6-point game. I forget if it was a turnover or just a bad offensive possession. They come down, we sag off the 3-point shooter again, bang, 3. All of a sudden, a 9-point game, which is obviously a 3-possession game, but like it's rare that teams hit 3-3-pointers to get right back into it. All of a sudden, a 9-point game turns into a 3-point game. Now, the ensuing 2 possessions, I think Gillespie hit a 3 and then they hit a 3 again. So it went from 9 to 3 in no time at all. We didn't get any time off the clock. And it was purely because we didn't step out.
Yeah.
And I thought that kind of set the tone for the remainder of the game. And then we just couldn't get, like, they got confident. They started hitting shots and we got tight in what we do and kind of got, I don't want to say lazy. I mean, there was definitely some looks down the stretch where we got the ball into Dixon down low, but they started to really sell out for turnovers and to deny Dixon the ball down low. And we had no answer for that at all.
Yeah. And I also think, like, don't get it wrong. Like, sometimes Nova gets stagnant on offense, but that's just the other coaching. Like, if you're a coach on the other team, what are you going to do? Especially when crunch time and the game is close. You're going to try not to let Colin get the ball, and you're going to try not to let Justin get the ball. So when those two are not getting the ball, somebody else has to step up. And who did that today against Georgetown? Jermaine. And that's what we need. And it's not necessarily always has to be Jermaine or it has to be Slater. It can be anybody, because we have these mismatches on the court that I feel like a lot of times we don't take advantage of. Like, a lot of games, Mano has like 7-foot dudes on him and everything. I know, like, you got to run the offense and stuff like that, but sometimes you gotta be aggressive and try to make a play.
Yeah, I'm curious, Ari, like, what would you change about the team? Because we were actually talking about this on text during the Georgetown game as we were stagnating, and we were saying exactly the same thing. Like, look, we've got Colin and Justin are the 2 constants, but there's not as much of a dynamic scoring presence around them right now. So it then does make it easier for coaches to kind of develop a matchup and a defense to say, look, key on these guys, and we'll kind of take our chances with everybody else. So, like, what do you like? What would you do differently? What are you seeing that you'd want to try and activate that you think could maybe take this team to the next level?
Well, I like the emergence of Dixon, how he's been playing down low in the post, but you still got to understand he's still young and he's still learning, and this is like a big jump for him. So, some games he's going to be great, some games he's not. Like, he didn't play great today, obviously. But, I don't want to say he didn't play great. He was doing good offensive rebounding, and he did what he did when we need to win. But obviously, at this point, when Colin and Justin can't get it going, we just gotta, I would just try to figure out ways to put people in position to score. Like, what are they comfortable with? Like Daniel, Caleb. I know Caleb loves hitting that corner 3-pointer.
Yeah, he does.
He loves that corner 3-pointer. So you figure out ways where you can get him that shot, penetrating on his side. If anybody's gonna help, then you can kick it to him. You got Mano, which we saw today. He can drive the lane, get into the lane, and draw fouls. And if all Mano do is draw fouls for us and put the other team in a bonus, we shoot 80-something% from the free throw line. That's good for us. That's another way for us to score. But we got to continue to figure out ways to score. And I don't think that we run enough in the transition, because those are ways to get easy buckets.
Yep.
A lot of times we get rebounds and we'll just hold it and wait for Colin to come. But I understand the philosophy behind that. You got to think we don't turn the ball over that much. Teams that run a lot like that, they tend to turn the ball over. So you gotta pick and choose.
It's a balance, right? Because
Yeah,
Colin's MO is steady Freddy, right? Like the guy just doesn't. He seems unflappable most of the time. He was turnover happy in the first half of this Georgetown game today. It was uncharacteristic, but by and large, his MO is slow and steady, and doesn't make a ton of mistakes. Might not blow you away with any athletic plays or anything like that, but kind of just keeps it all kind of in control. He always seems to be in control of his emotions and in control of the game. But I do agree that sometimes it would be nice to see the Cats get out in transition, especially when the offense is stagnant.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's like hand the ball to Justin or hand the ball to Jermaine and get going downhill towards the rack. And if you give up an offensive foul every now and then because you get a charge, like, so be it. I'd rather make mistakes of aggression than coming down the stretch and the offense going stagnant and making like a silly turnover because we're trying so hard to force the ball to Dixon so that he can pass out of the post, or get pickpocketed because Justin gets doubled, 5 feet beyond the 3-point line. Just things like that, like breakdowns like that, or a shot clock violation, which is just killing me with this team of late. Like, so many shot clock like, I'd rather just make an aggressive play quickly, and if we end up making a turnover or committing an offensive foul, like, so be it. But I'd rather create as opposed to stand still.
Yeah, I think Jermaine in particular is an interesting one because, like, we've talked about him on the past few podcasts, and obviously he's clearly passing up a number of open shots at this point from 3-point range. But you saw like what happens today when he starts attacking the hoop, he gets comfortable working inside. He's a huge difference maker. If we can get that activated more consistently, that opens up a huge other part of the offense as well too. So I'd love to see more attacking Jermaine. We called for it, I think, like at the beginning of the year, the past 2 years. I think that's where he's most different than the people he's matching up against. He's a really physical guy, especially if he's matching up against a 4, or definitely if he's matching up against a 5. Like, he's going to be able to take those people off the bounce for sure.
And it was a difference with Mano today. Like, Mano, he attacks the rim, but today he attacked to score. Like, he wasn't attacking to try to pass. He was going to the basket to score. And when you go with that mindset, then when you go and the help comes, then you could kick out and dish. But if you going to score, like, that's how you got to play. Like, that's what it looks like when you go to the basket to score. Like, Justin does it all the time. Like, he's going to score the basketball.
Dude, Justin is playing otherworldly right now. He's absolutely on a tear. Obviously, Marquette was a little slow, but other than that, he's been on fire.
Yeah, he's been playing well. But when you're aggressive and the defense adjusts and whatever comes at you, you're able to like make a play that way. That's one thing I learned with Coach Wright. He's like, just be aggressive, and then when the defense steps up or anything like that, you'll make the right play.
Yeah. To me, to the point on Jermaine passing up open looks, I feel like those are actually two sides of the same coin. He missed 2 open threes today, but he took them. What happens is they take them. That makes the defense respect the fact that you might pull up. That opens that one step. I mean, we're talking about Division I college basketball. One step is all you need to like get an advantage. And so Jermaine can, with the defense respecting the fact that he might shoot the ball, all of a sudden, okay, now he takes a step. He's got a step ahead, and he could use his body to create room for himself as he attacks the rack.
Yeah, and you know what else I don't see a lot? We need to I never see us get easy baskets, like back cuts. Like we never get those. Like you need to get those in games. Little simple back cuts, especially like if Colin and Justin is getting denied, like set up a play where they could get back cuts. Iverson cuts, pass it to the wing, big easy E comes up, back screens the guard down into the lane. Like, I don't think there's enough movement sometimes. It's just pass. Like, we need movement to get the defense to move.
To me, it looks like sometimes on offense, we play too much Villanova basketball in air quotes. Like, I feel like guys are like, it's the old saying of like, oh, pass good, better, best, like get the best shot. I feel like sometimes guys pass out of the best shot sometimes. And I feel like,
Yeah.
to your point on the back cuts, like, look, sometimes we don't have guys who have the ability to get up above the rim, but we do actually have a couple guys who can, in specifically Slater. I wonder if his injury, first off, I think his injury is being undersold a little bit to Nova Nation, because like there's no explanation for him being this tentative in how he plays on the offensive end. And I'm just wondering if, and he sat a lot today. Antoine got a lot of minutes today in what was a tight game. I wonder if some of that is, Slater's injury is just not help. Like he's not as bouncy as he normally is. And as a result of that, some of those cuts that could be a good opportunity for like a guy like a Slater to make, not happening.
Yeah, I've talked with some people in Nova's camp, and his ankle is not doing good right now. You could see in the beginning of the game. I don't know if you noticed, but he kind of was hampering it a little bit. I could tell that he wasn't like running full speed, and he wasn't 100%. I think that's why he didn't play so much later on in the game.
When on press availabilities and whatever, Jay said Slater's not 100%, but he'll play, and I feel like that's like. Look, I get Jay wants to keep things close to the vest, and obviously want to keep things close to the program. But today it was the first time I said to myself, "There's more to this Slater injury than meets the eye here." He almost needs some time. I'm wondering if he needs time to like get healthy. And I want I don't know. I didn't play Division I basketball, so I don't know. Sometimes you just need to take a couple of games off to get your ankle right, or do you play through it? Obviously, it's a question that should be asked.
Yeah, it definitely is. But I don't know. I know it's hard right now because they're playing more games like every few days. There's a game, so it's kind of hard to rest it.
Yeah. I guess to that point, like, should we be, and we mentioned the bench, and we've talked about the bench and the narrative of the bench throughout the season. It's funny, Ari, when we had you on earlier this year, we were talking about different people off the bench. We're talking about Chris Archidiakono. Now we're talking about Brian Antoine's obviously back in the rotation. Jordan Longino's made some good strides as well, too. And he's playing, 8-10 minutes a game, something like that. I guess to Chris's point, like, what do you think? Like, do you think we should be seeing a little bit more from Antoine at this point? Like, hey, let's reduce the burden a little bit further. Antoine only played I think it was 13 minutes or something like that today. So it wasn't, 13 minutes. It wasn't all that much. Like, in my mind, I'd love to see more of it and see what he can do. But what do you think?
So let me go back on my stance about the bench from earlier. Now I agree. Like, I would love to see the bench more. I think that was a negative in the Marquette game because nobody came off the bench. Guys probably was gassed and didn't have enough in the tank during the end of the game. I think that if we would have played the bench a little bit more in the Marquette game, it was a possibility that we could have won that game. And I think with every game, the only way you're going to get a rhythm, honestly, is like you got to play.
Yeah.
Antoine playing 13 minutes. I mean, I've played before. I know how it is. Sometimes you need to get in there. You need to sweat. You need to feel the game in order to like get a rhythm. It's hard to get a rhythm when you play 3 minutes and then out another 3 minutes, out 2 minutes here. So it's tough, and it's definitely a mental aspect that goes into it. But I know Antoine seems like a good kid, so he's just got to figure that out. Figure out how he can be effective on the offensive end because the kid got game. I know you've seen him in high school. Like the kid can definitely play. So I just think that if he gets a little bit more time, you'll be able to see more and like you get comfortable with time, like you see with Easy E this year, like he's getting a lot of time and you see how he's able to develop and
Totally.
and start playing good. So that's with anybody, when you get time, you get more comfortable and then you start to show a little bit more of your game.
The one thing about Antoine that like makes me say I want to see more is that we don't have another guy on the team who's anything like him. Like for all of the kind of complementary pieces that we have on the team this year, like he is the one guy who is just like all of a sudden, like even in the Georgetown game today, there was a guy, kind of a broken play. He ended up scoring a layup on the play, but the ball looked
I
like it was going to
remember.
go out of bounds, and he grabbed it. Like I don't even know, not sure how he grabbed it, and then ran to the hoop and scored. And it all happened in like half a second. He's so
Yeah.
fast. He is so fast and athletic and quick that look, I love Justin. I love Colin. I love all the guys on the team, but there's no one with that kind of blur type speed on the squad. So like, even to the point of wanting to see more Antoine, even to the point of like throwing something at the opposing team that they not comfortable with, that they're not used to seeing, versus like our entire team, which is slow tempo, measured, hunt for the right shot, take your time, get to the lane, etc. Some guy who could come in and just totally change the pace on you by himself. Man, I feel like Antoine is a key to like being able to like maybe break up some bad play in consecutive minutes.
Yeah, he definitely is. And you can see that when he's in a game, like he's trying to play the right way. He's trying to do what coach asks him to do, try not to make any mistakes out there. And you can definitely see that. Hopefully he'll get a little bit comfortable and, start being more aggressive here and there when he has the opportunity to. But right now you can see that he's just trying to, it seems like he's playing to like stay on the court.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And that's what I like the point you made about the comparison to Eric, right? Like Eric was, even if he was making mistakes, we kind of had to play him out there just because of he was obviously like our primary big man, just had a shortage of body. So Jay's forced to leave him on the court. And you've seen how he's gotten way more comfortable as the season has gone on. And it's amazing. I was talking to my wife about this earlier during the game. I was like, it's amazing to compare how he was playing at the beginning of the season to how he's playing now. Yeah, he still misses shots. Yeah, he still makes turnovers. But you can just see the confidence and the comfort level that the number of reps that he's gotten have really contributed to. And it's just, yeah, he's in the flow of the game. He's playing a much bigger role for the team. And I have to imagine, again, I'm just guessing here, that if you give Antoine some more regular minutes, ideally you'd start to see some more of that trajectory as well, too. So I want to see it.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
When you play, look, I could even say this having played like even like high school intramural level sports. Okay. Like when you're playing a game to not mess up,
yeah,
you are not playing. You're like almost destined to mess up. Like, like you're going to make a mistake when you're trying to, like, it's like when you say, oh, you play to not lose. I feel like we did that against Marquette to a certain degree, played to not lose that game. Like you got to go out there and be aggressive and play to win. Like, I feel like sometimes some of the guys on the bench come in and they play to, not make the one mistake that's going to get them taken off the court. But in doing so, they're like overthinking their time on the court. Like, I feel like you can't be thinking that much, like when you're playing. Not at the speed at which the game is played.
Yeah, you just gotta go out there and play.
Yeah.
So
and like have fun.
Yeah, that's very true.
The-
a little bit more fun.
Let me ask you something. So you played on teams that had varying degrees of depth when you were on campus. In your senior year, unfortunately, there should have been more depth, but Curtis got hurt. And then, Jason Frazier was not hurt that year, but really just kind of had injuries throughout his career that really hampered his ability. So you guys really played like 6-7 guys maximum that year, which made it easier. But you guys were all top level. You put out what ended up being 4 pros from that squad. Like, is there something to like, I'm just asking you from experience, does Jay sometimes get like really comfortable and reliant on the guys who he like really, really trusts, his seniors, his guys, and sometimes forget like in the heat of a game that to say, oh, you know what? I got to get this guy in. I got to get this guy some minutes.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. You just gotta think about it. If you as a coach, like you're gonna go with the players you trust.
Yeah, of course.
Especially if the game is on the line. Like you just want to go out there with the best guys you think that's going to help you win the game. And I don't think that he forgets who's on the bench or anything like that. It's just like he feels like these are the best players, or this is the rotation that I feel like is going to give us the best chance to win.
Right.
I don't think like he forgets anything like that. I feel like in the Marquette game, he really realized like it was a close game, and he seen how Marquette was playing, so he was just like, I just got to stick with my guys for this game.
Yeah. I think the mistake in the Marquette game came in the first half, right? Like I feel like more time for Antoine and Longino in the first half and the early part of the second half might have paid more dividends down the stretch. Look, 10 minutes left in the game. You're up 9. You got your starters in plus Caleb. I think Caleb's kind of like a 6 starter role. Yeah. But like, that's the guys you're rolling with, right? Like you're not losing a game because Antoine makes a mistake with 5 minutes left in the game. That doesn't make any sense. I agree. But I feel like you have to set those guys up for success in that final push.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just a complicated situation. We all know how Coach Wright is. He's just gonna stick with his guns, and he's gonna go with the upperclassmen. So I mean, all I can say to the players is just keep working hard and just like don't let it affect you. Your time will come. Like your time definitely will come.
Yeah.
But it ain't right now.
No.
True. So true. What's the ceiling for this team right now, you think? We've seen a lot of ups and downs. I know a lot of concerns, and we all know the fan base, Nova Nation, it just kind of oscillates from one extreme to the other of, hey, we're a Final Four team, or we're not even going to make the tournament. Where's your head at right now?
Right now, I do believe we are a tournament team for sure. Like there's no doubt in my mind about that. I just think right now we just a little inconsistent with like the effort. Sometimes like effort wise, like today we started the game out slow. Like you got to put a team like Georgetown away from the beginning. Like Marquette game, yeah, Marquette's a good team, but there's no way they should have been in the game with us. Like that's what I mean about the effort, the consistency on that part. I think we have the tools to even win games, big games, when we're not scoring. We've shown that we can do that. We did it against the Xavier game. Xavier's a good team, and Xavier has length, which is something that bothers us, but we were able to pull it out in that game. We were really focused, locked in, and play like dogs, the Xavier game. And that's the type of games, that's the type of attitude we have to have every single game if we want to go real far. If we just want to go to the tournament and win one game, or if we want to make it to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, because we have the tools to do it,
Yeah.
Chris, what are you picking right now? If you had to pick the end of the season, where's it end?
Here's the interesting thing. Look, I'm not going to sit here after the 2 games this week and say, oh, we're still 5-14. But that being said, I just encourage fans who are freaking out about our tournament prospects, like in terms of going to look around the college basketball landscape.
Oh yeah, true.
It's just like keep in mind, we're all looking at it and judging Villanova versus our assessment of where we expect a great Villanova team to be on almost at the end of January. And I agree that there leaves some things to be desired. And this is a senior-led team. Senior-led teams should not lose to Marquette at home. Like they should not let Georgetown be up at halftime. It just shouldn't be. But at the same time, compare yourself around the league and look at even the Big 12, right? The Big 12 is a gauntlet, and you would excuse teams for losing ranked games. Baylor, who loses to Oklahoma State at home, right? Baylor's got a lot of guys who won a national championship last year. These are seasoned guys, right? So my point is that there is no team in college basketball that I've seen that's infallible, that can't be beaten. There's no Gonzagas and Baylors of last year. My point is that this team can make a Final Four, because based on their draw, based on who they get, etc., can absolutely run it out and get to Louisiana. Like, so I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying that's the most likely result. I think the most likely result is like a Sweet 16 Elite Eight appearance. I still think that this team will win games against opponents like round of 64, round of 32. I still think they'll win that game. And then it's a draw game it's always going to be a draw game crapshoot from the Sweet 16 on. But this team is going to be good enough to win the first two games. And then it's going to come down to matchups. And to Allan's point before, effort and not making boneheaded mistakes, like not stepping out on a good shooter when you get a lead, like with 10 minutes left in the game. That's the time to lock it down. That time from the under 12 timeout to the under 4 timeout in a game when you're up is time to close the book. It's time to close the game out. And I feel like I don't want to see that continue to happen, but that's where the issue is going to be. And I feel like we're going to be watching a tournament game in the Sweet 16 with this team, and this is going to happen. That's my fear. So yeah, I think this team could get to New Orleans, but I also think that this team, I think Sweet 16 Elite Eight is kind of where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, I think if I'm picking, it's probably Sweet 16 for me. I think the consistency is the biggest thing that A-Ray is referring to. We just don't quite have it. Though I think you do bring up an interesting point to think about this relative to the rest of the country, relative to what our Villanova expectations have grown to over years. I would say, especially since we came into the new Big East, which at this point is, it's like 8 years ago or whatever at this point, we've gotten used to running through the conference with 1 or 2 losses. And now it's getting back to this point where, hey, the rest of the Big East is very good and very competitive as well, too. So kind of saying, yeah, it's okay. We're going to have some losses mixed in there. Obviously, we were used to that. Certainly in the old Big East, it was such a gauntlet that, yeah, you'd lose a bunch of games. It wasn't the end of the world. It was just part of the season and part of how you built that team up. So I think it's definitely fair to think about those relative expectations. That said, I think the consistency and the lack to me right now of who kind of that clear third and potentially fourth offensive option is that we can consistently rely on to say, hey, somebody's going to pick up that mantle. Those are the couple things that are holding me back to get a little bit more excited right now.
Yeah, and like you said, the Big East is definitely getting better, and like you gotta understand, these are your neighbors. Like they know exactly what you're gonna do. You've been playing against them for years. They know what you're gonna run. They know your system. They know the players. So it's gonna be tougher than playing against somebody in the tournament. Like conference play is tougher than the NCAA tournament. Like you said, you can get a draw in the tournament and kill that team, but sit here and wonder how the hell you lose to Creighton. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's funny like that.
Totally true.
The one thing too, though, is that I'm going to put a massive asterisk on this month in general, even though we've looked good this month for most of it, except until the last 2 games, is that if Jermaine does what he did today and continues to play with that fire in his eye, this is a different team. Also, if Slater gets his ankle healthy and plays more like he did in the first 5 to 8 games of the season, different team, right? Like, so if those 2 things can happen at the same time and it kind of comes together in late February, watch out. Like, I'm going to take us pretty far in the bracket. You know what I mean? Like those 2 things open up a lot for Justin and Colin from deep. So like that is the biggest like caveat to say to all of this. So like, it's interesting because I'm saying to myself, in a weirdest way, watching Slater being really hobbled today and like not get those minutes in the second half and realizing that, whoa, there's a lot more to this injury than meets the eye, actually in this weird way, like raised my optimism level for the team, because I'm saying, wait a second, now there's an actual reason. And it's not that Slater is like just not as good as we hoped he would be. Like he's hurt, right? So if he can get healthy, then a different story plays out. And then obviously the wild card, which shouldn't be a wild card. Jermaine as a super senior should not be a wild card anymore. But if Jermaine can get that aggressiveness that we've seen him gain, that we talked about in the podcast last week, Jermaine seems to come into his own in late January and start playing more aggressively. Well, if he does that and takes us takes that, down to the last 2 months of the year, again, it's a different team.
Yes.
Definitely.
But as we talked about on the last podcast, definitely a big if to be waiting on. And obviously Jermaine's had this historical, hey, kind of late January, February uptick. I hope it comes through again. I hate having to wait on, hey, if he steps this game up, but we'll see, I guess.
So not weird thing. I wanted to talk about, we talked about NCAA tournament hopes, like in terms of how far we'll go. I do want to we said last week, we did a big segment on kind of like where we fit into the NCAA picture. I do want to talk about that in light of this week's games. So the Marquette game, while it is a loss that we should never have taken, it was a bad loss from the perspective of you're at home on Josh Hart's retirement night. Like, with super seniors, you got to win that game versus a young team with a new coach. That being said, Marquette is a tournament team. And after winning that game, Marquette became number 34 in the net. So they are almost a quad 1 home game. So it's right now sitting as a quad 2 loss, but still not killer. And Marquette's going to make the NCAA tournament. So like losing to an NCAA tournament team, not the end of the world from a resume standpoint. That being said, a lot of the conversation that we had, Rob, last week on the podcast was around like, could Villanova somehow get into the 1 seed line and 1 seed conversation still? A couple good things did play out this week. Duke lost to Florida State and Purdue lost to Indiana. So, teams around the country are going to continue to lose, which will provide opportunities for Villanova. I don't think it's a likely scenario that Villanova plays its way onto the 1 line. In order to do that, my view is that Villanova basically has to only lose 1 more game in the regular season. And it has to come like at UConn or at Providence. So like that's a very thin line to walk for the rest of the season. Like, I don't think we're going to get through the rest of the regular season with only 1 more loss based on how we looked today. How we looked a week ago, though, if we can bring that back, like all of a sudden I feel differently. That being said, look, that's kind of like the tournament picture. We are currently technically number 2 in the Big East, but we've played a lot more games than Providence. So Providence has to kind of go out and do that. This conference is going to come down to UConn, Providence, and Villanova to see who gets like the 1 seed, if you will, in the Big East tournament. And we still have 4 matchups versus those 2 teams. So I think the conference is going to be decided by those 4 games.
Yeah, I can't wait for those games.
Yeah. They're going to be good. I will say, I have to readily admit, so I was making an argument last week about our 1 seed prospects. And I stated, how many times in the last 10 years has a 1 seed gotten in without a top 10 win? And we did some quick research after the fact. Your own Villanova Wildcats met that criteria like 5 years ago, easily refuted. As I thought it over, I haven't checked this one either. As I thought it over, I think what I was really getting at was, have we had any 1 seeds in the last 10 years who haven't had a top 10 win and have had as many losses as we have had and we're talking about, which would be like 6 or 7 losses. Obviously, there have been teams, like a Gonzaga that just runs through the tournament, or actually like our Villanova team in 15, where I think we had 2 losses the whole year, but didn't have that top 10 win. And it was just like numerical, like, hey, you've got to give Nova the 1 seed. So anyway, challenge to our listeners out there, do a little bit of research. It'll probably only take you 15 minutes, but you can fact check me again on it. But I gotta keep myself honest there. I made a big statement. I was definitely wrong on it. So there you go. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Allan, do you guys, when you guys are going through the kind of the ins and outs of the season, do you guys talk about like, well, where do we stand in the Big East standings? Where do we stand in our NCAA bracket, like bracketology, et cetera? Or are you guys just thinking like next game? I know probably the coaching staff wants you to think next game, next game, next game. But like, do you ever do the guys take a step back and look at kind of like where the team stands relative to everybody else?
Well, I'm not sure about everybody else, but from my experience, I can tell you, yes, it sounds very cliche, but I never really thought about like the future games or like our seeding and stuff or where we're going to be. But it was nice when you turn on ESPN and you see that number 4 in the country or number 3 in the country. It was nice, but there was times I remember we would lose and we would drop down and really shouldn't care about it, but it would motivate us like, oh, okay, they think we suck now. They gave us a low ranking, so yeah, we're gonna get it back up. But other than that, that was the extent of it. We never like played and was like, oh, let's try to be top 5 or let's try to get the number 1. We never looked at it like that.
Gotcha. No, I was just curious because I am a big like standings watcher. I look at all the metrics. I'm like a big bracketology guy. I love like following a ton of different bracketologies and just seeing like, oh, where do we all fit into the national picture? But it's interesting. It's like you guys are obviously most focused on next game, next practice, next weightlifting session, etc.
Yeah. I couldn't play the game playing like, all right, I'm playing because I want to be higher in the ranking. No, I'm playing because I want to score 25 on you.
Chris, it might have been easier to just describe yourself as a nerd instead of going through that 3-sentence description.
Yes, I am a nerd. That's fair. There's a reason why I do a podcast and then play basketball. So that's
no, but seriously, I was trying to get 20 every game. Like I need 20 every game.
I love it.
That's awesome.
I love it. Hey, and guess what? You were successful a lot of the time.
I tried to be.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the week coming up?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we got this weekend. This week we have DePaul on Tuesday night. I believe it's kind of an early tip.
Very exciting game. Get the fan base pumped up for DePaul.
It's a 5:00 game on Tuesday. That's horrible.
That's terrible. They knew nobody wanted to watch it, so they're just like, let's put it at 5.
So DePaul comes to Finneran Pavilion, 5:00 on Tuesday. So look, this game at Chicago was a tough game. We had to fight with them throughout that game to kind of hold that lead and win that game. And other teams around the country other teams around the conference have not had as much success. Seton Hall went in and got blitzed by DePaul out the gate. This, again, we've talked about this last time. This is not your slightly older uncle's DePaul team. This is a competent, getting better DePaul team. That being said, at home, coming off of the week that we just had, I expect us to come out and put down the clamps on Liberty Freeman, redundant name.
Great name.
I expect us to go out and put the clamps on him now that we've seen him once.
I agree. Yeah.
And I expect us to get this done at home fairly comfortably in the comfortable shooting confines of the pavilion. So, Ray, what do you think? Do you think second time around we're gonna beat them by more?
I would hope so, but for me, I need them in practice to really like take the initiative before the game and get in that mindset. Like, we got to come out here and blitz DePaul. That's the only way I feel like they're going to get better and get over this hump. It can't be another Georgetown game where they come out and get confidence. Can't be another Marquette game where they come out and get confidence. Like, it's got to be from the start. And Freeman, he's a real good scorer. It may not be that easy to stop him, but can make sure his shots are contested and make sure that he's earning every point that he gets. And you can't be mad at that. Like you can't be mad. You can't be mad at that. But I expect them to come out and play hard and put them away, which like I did today for Georgetown, but they didn't do that in the first half.
Yeah.
I think coming back the second time around, I feel like first time DePaul's a little bit of a surprise. Freeman Liberty, obviously an awesome player, had an insane first half in that first game. I think he had 22 or something like that in the first half. Just absolutely went off. I think since the surprise is gone, and frankly, a little bit of the shine has come off DePaul at this point. I think they're I don't know. They've got one win in conference, something like that. I'm not as concerned about this. I think the team will get it done, no problem.
That's how Quincy Doobie used to do it. He used to score like 20 something every half. Like the first half, every game he would score like 20 something.
I remember in the Big East tournament, the game before the eye poke game, you guys played Rutgers, and Doobie was like on
He might have had 30. He might have had 30 in the first half on it. He put me on him. He was scoring. He put Randy on him. He was scoring on Randy. He put Kyle on him. He was scoring on Kyle. He put Dante on him. He was scoring on Dante. We were in the locker room at halftime. He's like, well, I guess nobody wants to guard Quincy Doobie. It's like, you guys see it? Yeah, I guess you just want to lose first round of the Big East tournament. Go ahead.
I love it. I really wonder what his halftime speeches are like, and I wonder how it was then versus now, like, because he comes across as like he's softened up quite a bit.
Yeah, he definitely has.
Wait, yeah,
I could just see it.
Yeah, I was going to say, real question, is the halftime approach for Jay, is it fiery typically, or is it more like methodical, analytical?
For us, I don't know how it is now, but for us, it just like dependent. It was dependent on how the game was going. If we play like we did today against Georgetown at halftime, he'd have been chewing us out. Like he'd have been chewing us out for sure. But then after it, he would have had like some motivational speech or whatever that would get us going and like have us ready to go play. And then like if we were already playing good, you know, he came in, he had his suit on, he was nice and subtle and good job, guys. And you know, keep doing what you're doing. Let's go get this game. So it just depends.
I love it. I love it. The one thing that Jay doesn't do anymore that he used to do, there used to be a couple games a year, not necessarily a year, but a couple games like sprinkled throughout, where I remember Jay just didn't feel like he was getting the right calls from the officials, and he also didn't feel like he was getting the effort that the guy that he wanted. And I felt like Jay went out of his way to get teed up. Like he would just be like, I'm getting fucking teed up today. Like this is going to fire the guys up when they see me get a technical, and I just got to go out. I remember a game in like 2010, we were playing Louisville, and it was just not going the way it should have gone. And Jay went berserk, got teed up, and we came back after getting teed up. We obviously went down 2 more points, and then we like went on like a 15-2 run. It was over. But he used to do stuff like that. I swear.
Yeah, he used to get intense sometimes, especially with the refs. And he used to get texts and he used to be going at the refs. And I remember and Randy used to always Randy was like the only one who could really like calm him down. So Randy would go over there and be like, "Hey, coach, like, relax, like, you know, like, calm down, coach," and coach would settle down. But yeah, he definitely used to do that. If we wasn't getting foul calls or the refs was playing, making bad calls, forget about it.
Yeah,
amazing.
Forget about it.
Should we talk St. John's?
Yeah, St. John's.
More exciting one this week.
St. John's is the game I wanted to talk a little bit more about. We're playing them 4:30 on Saturday at the Wells Fargo Center, again on Fox. So a big, obviously a huge matchup there. St. John's is having a little bit of a disappointing season so far this year. I think they came into this season, even though they had a lot of transfers in, they returned Julian Champagny, who's still been having like a first team all Big East type year. Posh Alexander, who was obviously a great freshman last year, and had a lot of other pieces with Mike Anderson at the helm. And I think they thought like, this is a year that we're going to get into the NCAA tournament conversation and really do that after surprising a lot of people last season. it's not played out that way, unfortunately, for St. John's. They're at 2-4 in conference. They just lost to Seton Hall, and they had a bad game earlier this week where they looked anemic against Creighton in Omaha. So St. John's is kind of come out the gate here in Big East play and candidly in the out-of-conference schedule and really hasn't picked up a good win. If they are going to get themselves onto the bubble, they have to start winning and winning a lot down the stretch. With that said, that's kind of the context coming in. They're obviously going to come in with fire under them, seeing the ranking next to Villanova's name and being like, this is how we get our season right. We beat Villanova, and then we kind of come out and win a lot of games down the stretch. But it starts with the Villanova game. That's what they're going to be saying in their locker room. We already talked on a couple of the guys, but Julian Champagnie, as I mentioned, playing 34.
Well, wait, hold on. Sorry. Before we jump into this real quick, they are in very much danger of going on a 4-game losing streak because they have a weird quirk in their schedule. So they just lost, like you said, to Creighton. They lost to Seton Hall today. They play Seton Hall again on Monday. So they have Seton Hall back to back and then follow that up with us on Saturday. So this very quickly could turn into a 4-game losing streak for them. So a lot on the line this week.
Yeah, they are. They are. It's going to be a tough road. They have to win some games. And today's game was at MSG, so then they lose the home game benefit after losing today. They now have to go to Newark to play that game on Monday. That's part of all the COVID makeup games that they got going on right now. Yeah. But sorry, Julian Champagnie, as I said, having a Big East all first team type season so far this year. 21 points, 34 minutes, shooting 39% from beyond the arc. He's having a great year. That's going to stopping him. That's their guy, right? We got to find a way to make sure that we stop him. I think Samuels is going to get the draw to cover him. Obviously we're going to play a lot of switching, but I think Samuels is going to be the first guy to step up and guard him with Slater right there too. Alan, what do you think?
Yeah. I'm interested in that game because I want to see how Nova responds to their tempo. St. John's gets the ball up the court quick as hell. I seen a clip. I can't remember who they were playing. Offensive rebound, kick out, bounce pass, dunk. No dribble at all. No. So it's going to be interesting to see Nova's transition defense. Transition defense is going to be key in this game.
This is also going to be a game of runs. Because the way St. John's whole thing is set up is they score a bucket and they press you. So they try and speed the whole game up. They press relentlessly. We saw it last year. We lost the game last year as a result of it. And then the second game went the other way in extreme fashion. But yeah, they're going to press us. So if they start scoring buckets, so our defense is going to be our best offense too. Because if we're able to get, if they're bricking, if they're not getting clean looks at the basket, then they can't set up their press. Then we get off and kind of can do our thing on the offensive end, which makes the game a lot more comfortable for us. If they start hitting shots, then all of a sudden offense gets harder for us too. So I could see this game being we're up 6 and all of a sudden we're down 4. And then it goes back the other way. St. John's is very susceptible to having putting runs up and then also getting runs on them.
Yeah. They just play free. You could tell they're just out there just playing. They play free. It's not really so much structure. If you was to go to an NYC playground in the 90s and watch a pickup game, that's how St. John's played. That's what it would look like.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it would look like.
Good comparison.
The guys that we got to step out on are Champagnie, as I said. Adai Wusu shoots 43% from beyond the arc, and Aaron Wheeler shoots 43% from beyond the arc. So they don't have many good 3-point shooters, but those three are good. We got to step out on these guys. We can't let them get hot from beyond the arc and shoot themselves into this game.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what Elliott did at Marquette. He got hot.
Totally.
And Elliott, he shot like 50-something% from three, like on the season. So I definitely wouldn't have been giving him no damn shots.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up. We got one more thing to talk about. We didn't give out awards.
Oh, wow. Good call. Good call.
So A-Ray, you could join us. So we give out 3 awards every week. We give out the Shaq Fit Man Play of the Week for the best individual play. We give out the Alpha Dog of the Week, and then we also give out the Pass the Fucking Ball Award of the week for the guy who just didn't necessarily have a great week of Villanova basketball. My pick for the Shaq Fit Man Play of the week was the double block earlier.
Has to be
early in the first half versus Georgetown, and what it was otherwise not a great first half. That double block, I said on Twitter, I was like, Caleb and Eric were the SWAT team on that block. I love it.
Yeah, it was really exciting. Yeah. That was great energy there.
They definitely was playing volleyball.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Any other play, Alan? Do you think that was the best play of the week?
Yeah, that's a good one right there. That's definitely a good one right there. And another one come to mind. I can't remember. Eazy-E got an and one, and he kind of flexed after he got the and one, and that's when I was like, oh yeah, he's comfortable. Like, you can tell he's comfortable.
He's talking shit. He's comfortable.
Yeah, but I want to see more of that from everybody on the team. Like I want to see that, like flex on somebody, talk shit to somebody one time.
Yeah. Sometimes a little intensity would help a little bit.
Yeah.
Alpha Dog of the Week. This could go a couple different ways.
It's a tough one.
This could go a couple different. Who is the best player this week? To me, I felt like in today's game, Samuels was the reason that we won the. Like, look, Gillespie put up 28.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
But a lot of that to me came because Samuels got aggressive, turned that game on its head. His aggression turned the game. And then Colin got open looks, and Colin was burying them. So for me, I'm going with Samuels, even though I don't think his game but no one played particularly well against Marquette. So I'm just picking off of today's game.
Yeah, it's tough for me because the Marquette game, there's not a whole lot you can point to be like, all right, this should impact my vote for the whole week. So I'm kind of with you. It's tough. I like the Samuels pick, but look, I'll just be a little boring. I'll give it to the guy who scored 28 and was 6 for 9 from 3 and had a couple of those, hey, the ball came out after a loose ball and let's clean this up and just bury it. So I guess I'll give mine to Colin.
Yeah, I probably would go in that direction as well. Colin's been pretty consistent this week, with what he's doing. Justin didn't play bad this week either. If Eazy-E had a good game today, I would have easily gave it to him because he played well against Marquette.
It's true.
But I'll probably go with Colin. I'll lean to that one.
It seems like you've settled on Eazy-E as your as the nickname.
I love that name. I love that name. We was not going with big dicks. I know that. That was not happening.
Come on. What about Eric Thixon?
That name is hilarious. Like, it is hilarious. One of the announcers said that today. They was like, Eric Dixon's thick.
Yeah, he did.
So true.
I'm sorry. When he said that today, I could only see thick with 2 C's. I could only see it that way. Oh man.
Nah, that name is hilarious.
So good.
All right. So finally, the Pass the Fucking Ball Award of the week.
I'm staying out this one.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, do we go with Slater even though he's injured? I feel like it's not fair. It's not fair. Fair.
I'm struggling on this one. I can go one of 2 ways on this one. For me, I'm either going Slater, but I will say here's the reason I know I wouldn't say definitively. There's nothing I can point to that's like, hey, he did something like egregiously wrong. He's just been less impactful than we'd like. So what I'm going to do, I think this is a little bit of a cop out, but I think we've accepted it as an okay cop out. I'm actually giving it to Jay.
Yeah.
Because of the bench decision or lack thereof.
Oh, Allan's pissed. Allan's pissed.
I'm not pissed.
Because of the lack of bench usage in the Marquette game. So Jay gets my vote.
I'll go ahead, Allan.
Blame it on the coach. That's okay with me.
Spoken like a former player. No, you know what? When I think about it, the Slater injury thing today really changed my mind on this. I'm going with Jay too, but it's not because of the bench. I just don't think we were well prepared versus Marquette. Like what they do is like what they did to us is what they do. Like it wasn't like, and it was at the pavilion.
They are who we thought they were.
Yeah, it's exactly what they like. That's what they do. Like they didn't play as up tempo as they typically do, but they get out on you. They press. They did, even Georgetown today. We didn't handle their press well. Like to me, that goes back to what's happening in practice. Like so I think I'm going to go that way too. I'm going that way too.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. I'm just gonna give it to the whole. I'm gonna give it to the whole team.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna give it to the whole team, the whole program, because that Marquette game was disappointing. I love them guys for sure. I think we all can agree that game was disappointing.
Yeah, I'm sure that there weren't too many smiles after that game amongst the team and the program. So,
no.
So all right, we got some opportunities to get right this week. Got to have a 2-0 week. I think we will. So let's wrap it up there. Allan, thanks for coming back on the podcast. We'd love to have you on again, kind of keep checking back in with you as the season kind of continues to progress. It's crazy. There's only 7 weeks until Selection Sunday. So we're coming down the pike.
Definitely. You know, I enjoy being on here. Let's do it again.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. And as always, let's go Nova.